Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful first day of NAB, and welcome to the Connected Media IP area of the show. I don't know about you, but this has been a pretty fabulous Monday so far. It started out at the beginning of the show at 10 a.m. and has been nonstop ever since. So hope everyone's feeling the same way and having a really enjoyable time. My name is Tim Jackson. I'm the Senior VP of Sales and Marketing for Globecast. We're located right down the hallway right behind you. So please come by and visit me or any of the staff throughout the week. We'd love to meet with you and tell you a little bit about what we have going on here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the company and then talk about how we are here to help customers make sense and provide some common sense solutions in this digital media age that we have going on. The biggest thing for all of us, I think, is understanding the shift that is happening. And to give you a little bit of background, Globecast is part of the Orange Group, the very large telecom company based in France, which is a multi-billion-dollar company. And we are the B2B division that provides media services to customers throughout the world. We have 3 global media centers, one in Culver City, California, one in London, England, and one in Singapore. And all of those facilities are connected by our own satellite and fiber networks. And we've been doing traditional media services and contribution, distribution, media management for more than 20 plus years. And when you think about it, there hasn't really been a dramatic amount of change overall in those past 20 years up until the last few. So we're seeing so much happening with the advent of better connectivity, better computing power, the move to software-based workflows, and all of these things that require adaptation. And honestly, it's not just the customers that have to adapt, but it's everybody that's worked in this industry for so long that has had to understand the shift and communicate it. And I think I'm learning, and all of us are learning at the same pace and trying to figure out what makes sense and how we adapt and how we continue to serve customers the best way possible, because the only constant that's happening in our industry right now overall is customer service and making sure that we are providing a service and meeting the needs and desires of our customers. And that's really what this is all about, understanding the needs and the wants of the customers, because that never really changes. It really starts with what are you trying to accomplish and how can we get there and how can we help you accomplish that. And there are a variety of tools and workflows and products and solutions. And it's really overwhelming as you walk the floors, especially here on South Upper, and you see all kinds of things and people promising and promoting and showing and doing things. How do you make sense of all of this? And it can be a challenge to do that, but the folks that can really help you do that will sit down and listen. They'll understand what you're trying to accomplish, what you need to do, and then come up with a set of tools and solutions to help meet those goals. So at Globecast, what we're trying to do is, or what we are doing and hoping to continue to do, is provide accurate solutions to our customers. There are so many ways to reach audiences right now. The traditional media distribution for cable, satellite, and telco on the big screen, which is really where this whole thing started. And now it's moving into all sorts of types of different viewing. My 18-year-old college freshman watches all of his TV on this, and will occasionally bug me for a password to a site to watch Netflix or something. But he's a YouTube guy, and that's very common among the younger folks. But the different types of media, different types of consumption, different types of devices are all things that have to be considered now in any type of business arrangement. And that moves right into flexibility, because there isn't a company out there that can only deliver media in one format to one device and one market anymore. It has to be completely flexible. We have to be able, as a service provider, to react, spin things up very quickly, provide solutions quickly, get people on the air quickly. The luxury of having many weeks or months to propose a solution, develop a solution, and work with a customer, get a service on air, that's no longer the case anymore. Things have to happen so quickly and so rapidly, and even with that speed, though, you can't miss the efficiency, the quality of service, and the right prices as well. And one of the biggest concerns and considerations that we have in content workflows today too is security. Security is such a big issue. It's always been a concern, but now with a lot of content moving across a public cloud and content being available through different transactions and different media and different pipes, content security and the protection of that content is so critical. And one of the biggest things that we're finding at Globecast as we work with our customers is ensuring that we are properly taking care of their content for them and really demonstrating and showing them how that is being done. So that's a super critical part of things to do. I don't want to give you a product pitch about what we're showing. What we'd rather do is have you come by and talk to our product specialists and our team about this kind of stuff. But what I want to do is talk about where the products kind of meet the needs of the industry and how some of these things haven't existed before. You'll find many, many companies on the floor talking about cloud-placed playout, and we're one of those that is getting into that. I want to touch on that a little bit about what it really means and why that's different, because I think too few folks are talking about the evolution from a facilities and hardware-based playout solution to a cloud playout and why it's not really an either-or discussion. I want to tell you a little bit about what our LiveSpotter product is doing, which is providing a service for small production companies with professional tools. And I'll tease that a little bit, but get into that in a minute as well. GCXN is our internet delivery product, and this is really offering a tool and set of tools to people to allow for point-to-point delivery of content at a cost-effective point using a very high quality and secure solution that in the past hasn't been, it's been available, but it hasn't been widely accepted in the past, and now it is. Business continuity is tied into content security and disaster recovery. It's incredibly important. And CAD is our acronym for content acquisition, aggregation, and delivery, which is a big platform I want to touch on a little bit. So I just want to touch on each of these individually, really from the standpoint of the marketplace and not our solution, because again, we'd really love to talk to you about what we're doing specific to these things. But everyone is moving into, from a service provider standpoint, a cloud-based playout. And what does this mean and why is it important? What it really does is it offers people a flexibility and an alternative from a hardware-based playout. So if we go back to how TV has played out the past 10, 15 years or so, since it's moved away from tape and into files, it's all been really a hardware function with a variety of software tools that are often tied into a specific hardware solution. And that requires an investment from a facility, and that investment is usually not done on a build it and they will come basis. So if a customer was to decide they're going to launch a channel and move towards a playout facility and a playout service, we would work with the customer, figure out what the equipment configuration would be, place the orders for that, get it installed, test it out, and you're talking about a 60 to 90 day time period to have to do that. We've had something happen, interestingly, in just the last few years where the power of computing on the hardware platform, servers have become so powerful that the video functionality of the server can now do all the work for you. So it's not something that is required to be placed in a video facility anymore. And that goes from the big guys like the Disneys and the Discoveries that do their own service to the folks like Globecast that provide these services on a third-party basis to other providers. So we're going to let the cloud service providers, typically Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure, take care of the hardware. And they've done a tremendous job of distributing this hardware through data centers throughout the world. It's still a geographical model, so we're going to approach where the cloud playout server cluster physically manages and controls the content on a regional and geographic basis, but the flexibility allows for that to be a little bit virtualized and morph a little bit more. So the question becomes, what is the role for a company like us? It still needs to be managed. Customers still really want to know who's in control of the content, who is guaranteeing the kind of content is available, is playing out at the right time with the right elements, that it's secure, and they really want one phone number to call to make sure that it's all working. There's also various types of overlays in terms of the software to manage the video process that are so critical to this, and there are a variety of tools that we will choose for providing to our customers that don't want to make that decision, but we're also very happy to work with individual customers if they have their own software overlaid to a cloud-based playout solution. And the great thing about this is the software component is typically very easily replaceable, easily upgradable, and easily transferable. So while we're no longer having to worry about the hardware investment and the hardware upgrades and the depreciation of computing hardware over a very short period of time, we can focus instead on the software, the tools within the software, and the customer services that go along with that. So as you investigate and talk and learn more about cloud-based playout and who the proper partners are and who you want involved with that, there's a lot of very critical questions to ask and things to think about as you move forward in those decisions. There's also going to be situations where moving a service to a cloud may not make sense at all. For example, if you've got a service that is pumping out a 24/7 linear channel from a playlist that's compiled weeks in advance so you don't have any advertising involved, and you are outputting that channel to a satellite link for permanent distribution to a wide variety of affiliates, a typical standard hardware-based playout might make more sense because you don't have the costs involved with the CDN and some of the other issues and complexities where you don't need that cloud flexibility. So cloud-based playout does not mean that you're on the cutting edge or you're moving to something where you need to abandon your facilities and hardware-based playout. It's an alternative and does give you some flexibility, particularly with a rapid ramp up, a rapid startup, and the ability to spin up and spin down channels quickly, and also take advantage of some very interesting geographical and spatial things you can do with that. So that's one to think about the cloud, and that's something that we're really happy to talk about with everyone specifically. Now, we all know we can take our phones out of our pockets and Facebook Live anything, anytime. We can broadcast on YouTube, we can go on Twitter, we can do whatever we want, but there is definitely a role for a video services provider to help professional companies manage their social media postings and their social media broadcasts. And that's what we've done with LiveSpotter. Again, it's a set of software tools that help companies manage the publication of real-time social media content. It can be live, it can be file-based, but we're doing this with some very, very big companies now, some of our big broadcast partners that want to take advantage of posting on social media but don't feel comfortable simply having one of their employees put the phone on and go. So this is something else that we'd be happy to talk to you about and show you some of the tools and processes that can be used for this, but it's one of those things where it's often very, very helpful and very useful to have a full service service provider, media service provider that has experience in customer services managing this aspect of the broadcast as well. Even though it's simple, and even though every one of us has the ability to broadcast live on Facebook, which I still find kind of fascinating sometimes, it doesn't mean everybody should. And if you're doing this with a company's brand behind it and your own employer's logo at the top, you probably want to make sure it's done properly and professionally. So LiveSpotter is a very interesting set of tools. Again, it's something that everyone should be asking themselves before they do social media posting and social media live streams is, am I doing this the right way? Are there questions I need to ask? Are there things I need to take into account? Is there quality issues? Are there copyright issues? What should I ask and what should I learn about before doing this? So that's one thing that we're also well prepared to talk about. The typical way to do backhauls of content, whether it's a sporting event or a single point-to-point channel, has been through dedicated satellite capacity, dedicated fiber capacity, and that is expensive, but it's also quite good. And we know that by watching events like the Super Bowl or this past weekend's Masters, that the people that do satellite news gathering and fiber delivery on a point-to-point basis do it extremely well. and it's very good. However, there are a lot of events that don't require the expense and the complexity and the dedicated installation of either fiber or the renting of trucks to do backhauls. And with GCXN, we're using appliances on either end of the link that manage a public internet pipeline. It's a secured channel throughout that public internet. It uses the Zixi protocol, which a lot of folks may be familiar with, and it's gotten to the point now where we are actually delivering a full-time channel from our facility to a major cable operator, and it's the first time one of those channels delivered in this manner has been accepted with this as the delivery methodology. It's really, as long as you have really solid internet connectivity and static IP addressing capabilities on both sides of the transmit-receive location, then your connection is very, very good. We've been doing this. We did, for the channel we just put up for the cable delivery, we did a parallel test of satellite delivery and the internet delivery for a 3-week period with no glitches and no errors. You obviously are injecting a little bit more latency into something like this because you have to make sure that you're securing and managing and buffering that internet connection properly, but we are finding that we are able to open up our satellite delivery platforms, our fiber delivery platforms, and our movement of media around the globe to many, many more customers by providing a solution where effectively you're just dealing with the appliance costs, the cost of the internet on either side, and the management of the internet bandwidth in the middle. One question you could be asking yourselves is, why don't I just go buy the boxes and install it myself? You can. There is a good deal of networking and configuration and ensuring that the whole link is doing what it's supposed to be doing properly. We monitor these services in our various NOCs around the world, our various TOCs around the world, the same way we monitor any other service. So while the cost of doing this type of backhaul, this video backhaul, is much, much less, the service component is still the same. So it's still one number to call, one customer service area to make sure that it's delivered properly end to end. And this is one of the services that I'm most excited about because it's really opened up professional broadcast services to such a wide variety of customers that in the past have not been able to get that price point in there. It's also used, it's brought us down to be able to do a lot more high school sports too, and when you're dealing with OTT environments and hitting CDNs, you can use this service for high school sports. You could really use a high school district's Wi-Fi network and operate over this, do a game at 4 megabits, 5 megabits maybe. It's been working quite well, so really excited about that product and happy to tell you more about that. Business continuity, I touched on at the very beginning, but this is probably one of the most important considerations for content providers today, and that is how do we maintain security, integrity of the content? And there are so many levels of doing this. The first is the security of the content as it's delivered over public and private networks, and you can do this with networking security protocols, and you can do this with ensuring that the content is managed and kept in the proper locations from a physical standpoint on the proper servers, that it's deleted properly, and that you have workflows and procedures in place so you always know where the content is. The other thing is redundancy and backups. And this has been a thing in the satellite industry for a long time, with satellite providers and satellite operators providing any type of different backup scenarios, from protected capacity to in-orbit sparing. With cloud-based playout, it's a lot easier to do this now because you can simply replicate the instances where you have the playout occurring. You can do this geographically, you can do it in a different physical data center within the same large node. Many different ways to do business continuity. You can do this with evergreen content, and with one of our customers, we're doing a complete parallel playout of the entire service for multiple channels. So this can be discussed, and I like the word bespoke in this slide, because there's really no one size fits all. When we talk about what is the rate card for business continuity, it really depends, because the levels of customization that can be done for content security are entirely dependent on what is your risk profile, what is the amount of revenue that's at risk with your channel and your content, and how do we take care of ensuring that your risk is being met. A real common parallel to business continuity and disaster recovery is insurance for your home or insurance for your car. You're not going to insure your 1973 Ford Pinto at the same level you're going to insure your 2018 Lamborghini, right? They have different risk profiles and different amounts of money at risk if something happens. So the same thing could happen to each of those two vehicles, much as the same thing could happen to either of your types of channels, but the amount of investment you make in business continuity and in disaster recovery is very, very different, and that's why there's so many layers of securing and protecting content that we would love to talk about individual needs. The final thing I want to talk about is content acquisition, aggregation, and distribution. And this is a whole different thing, really. And what we're finding is there are customers that want access to the US market for distribution of their content. There's customers in the US that want access to markets in Europe, Middle East, Russia, Africa, Asia. So we have a division that is charged with working with small content owners to acquire their content, aggregate their content, and then distribute it globally in a region by region or global basis. So in this manner, if you or any of your acquaintances or you know of anybody that has a channel that is looking to get it distributed, we have people and experts throughout the world that can help get that content distributed throughout the world. We do this now with a large number of channels throughout the Middle East and including channels in Russia that want to reach foreign nationals in the US. So there's a lot of content that comes in from different parts of the world into our US area, and we help them negotiate their carriage and their rights. So for anyone looking to have distribution of content anywhere in the world, from anywhere in the world to anywhere in the world, that's one area that we're very, very focused on, and it's been a big business for us. So with that was a little brief overview of what we're doing at Globecast. Again, just down the road in the hall. Happy to follow up on any of the points I raised, talk about any other questions or issues. We've got many of our technical staff and product experts there, so if there's any questions you have about any of these technologies, whether it involves Globecast or not, but about the cloud playout and what that means, about the disaster recovery and business continuity or anything else, we're happy to have those discussions and continue. With that, I'd like to wish you a very enjoyable last 90 minutes of Monday and a very successful Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Thank you.